Hi everyone, my name is Wendy Potter. I work at the Ending Violence Association of BC as a program manager. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about a few different things related to sexual assault. I'm going to talk about the difference between disclosure and reporting, legal options that may be available to you, including third-party reporting, as well as options for services like medical care and community-based services that may be able to offer assistance and support to you. The first thing I want to talk about is the difference between disclosure and reporting. Disclosure is when you tell someone what happened to you. This could be a friend, a family member, someone that you're working with. It could be a teacher or a classmate. Some people who are sexually assaulted choose to tell a number of different people about what happened to them. Others choose to tell, many people that they have in their life. And other sexual assault survivors choose not to talk to anyone about what they've been through. The choice about who you talk to is really up to you. The other thing I want to mention is disclosure is different than reporting. Reporting is when you choose to make a formal complaint about what happened to you through an investigative process that may be at your campus or university, or through a legal system like the police. You can do a disclosure and not make a report to police. So that's a really important distinction to be aware of. Many people choose to tell someone about what that happened to them, like I mentioned, a friend or a family member, and they don't choose to report to police for a variety of reasons. It's really important that you choose to do what's best for you. Many people, when you talk to them about what happened to you and that you've been sexually assaulted, may give you a lot of advice and information about what they think you should do, but it's really important that you do what is best for yourself and you make the decision, as you'll be the one having to go through whatever process you decide. So after being sexually assaulted, there are many things to think about. And one of the things that's really important to think about is taking care of your health. Sometimes after people have been sexually assaulted, they are worried about their health, whether that's, they could be concerned that they're pregnant or that they've developed a sexually transmitted infection. People may also be worried about any other healthcare concerns potentially. There's a number of different options for you to access healthcare services in BC, and I'll just go over a few of them now. Because I think after being sexually assaulted, there's a lot of things to think about. You're often thinking, should I report to police? Should I go to the hospital? Who should I tell about what happened to me? But it's really important, I think, that, regardless of what decisions you make regarding the legal system, that you do get checked out for your health. You may have concerns about pregnancy, sexually transmitted infections, or kind of any other types of healthcare concerns. There are a number of different options in BC that are available for you to access to get checked out. The first one I wanted to mention is, you may have a doctor that you're comfortable going to. So that's great if you have a doctor that you already have a relationship with. There's another program called Options for Sexual Health in BC. They have a number of clinics throughout different areas of the province where they can provide support to you about things related to pregnancy and sexually transmitted infections. There is also youth clinics available in different regions of the province as well. Youth clinics will be available to you to cover a few different things. Again, as I mentioned, things related to pregnancy and sexually transmitted infections, and those are available depending on your age. Depending on what campus you're attending or what college or university, you also may have access to healthcare services on site. Some of the larger universities and colleges, for example, UBC, has a hospital on site that you can access as well. But as I mentioned, it's really important to do what's best for you, but I think it's really important to get your health checked out just to make sure you're okay. So many sexual assault survivors are wondering, what is a forensic exam in sexual assault? So for many sexual assault survivors, they are really concerned about if they should go get checked out and have forensic samples collected after they've been sexually assaulted. It's again really important that you decide what is best for you. If you're interested in having the forensic exam done after a sexual assault, usually these exams are only available up to 7 days after the sexual assault and in usually larger municipalities throughout BC. And if you are interested in a sexual assault exam, that exam usually consists of course, they would be checking you out your healthcare concerns. They would be collecting forensic samples from you. They may be collecting blood and urine for toxicology, and they may be documenting any injuries that you have as a result of the assault. And those programs are also really important as well, as they will provide a more emotional support to you and provide you referrals on other services that may be helpful to you. And many of these programs, again, are available in different parts of BC. For example, if you're in Vancouver, you can go to Vancouver General Hospital and ask to see the sexual assault service there. If you're in Victoria, you can call and arrange to see someone at the Victoria Sexual Assault Clinic. And the great thing about many of these programs too is that they have the option to store forensic samples for you if you are sexually assaulted and weren't sure if you wanted to report to police. So if you go to some of these programs and you have forensic samples collected, you don't have to make a decision at that time if you want to report to police. You really have some time. Usually they're able to store those samples for about up to 1 year. But again, that's a decision you need to make. But the exam usually varies in time from a couple hours to a bit longer depending on what's happened to you. So what are the options for reporting in sexual assault situations? The first option for you is you can choose not to report to police. This is your right. Many sexual assault survivors choose not to report to police for a variety of reasons. And some of those reasons are, they're worried about the repercussions from the person who assaulted them. They're worried about their privacy and confidentiality being violated. Or, you may just have concerns and fear about becoming involved with police or the justice system for what happened to you. But that is really your choice to decide if you want to report to police or not. Again, Canada has no time limit or statute of limitations for reporting to police. So if you decide at the time after you're sexually assaulted that you don't want to report to police, that doesn't mean you can't make that decision later on to decide to report to police. What is a third-party report? I've heard that this is something that some sexual assault survivors choose to do. So a third-party report is an anonymous report that you would complete with a community-based victim services worker about what happened to you. This report is a way for you to provide information to police about what you've been through without having to go through the official police report. This report is available in most circumstances of sexual assault, but it's not available, for instance, if you were assaulted by your partner and you're in an intimate relationship, if you were kind of concerned for your safety and felt like you need to call 911, it's not really available for emergency situations either. And if you were assaulted by a police officer, it wouldn't be appropriate in those circumstances as well. And if you're someone under the age of 19, it is available to youth, but only in certain circumstances and on a case-by-case basis. So once you decide that you want to do a third-party report, you would connect with a community-based victim services worker who would assist you in the completion of that report. And the report, is about 10 to 15 pages long, depending on the circumstances of what you went through. And the report goes over a lot of different information. It has information about, just generally who you are and what you look like. Again, no details about your name, your address, your phone number. It has information about the person who assaulted you. If your sexual assault happened in a vehicle, it would have information on the vehicle that was involved, the location that it happened, if it happened in a bar or at your home or at this person's home who assaulted you. And then it has a lot of information on details about kind of what particularly happened to you in relation to your sexual assault. It is a difficult report to fill out, and that's why the community-based victim services worker is there. They're there to provide support to you during the process, answer any questions you have, and help you kind of deal with just the day-to-day impact of being sexually assaulted. Once you complete the third-party report with the community-based victim service worker, that community-based victim service worker will send that report into the police. Once the police receive that report, they will review that report to see if they'd like to get further information from you or if they're just going to file it into, the police system for later reference if needed. If they're interested in getting in touch with you further, what would happen is they would contact the community-based victim services worker, who would then contact you to see if you were interested in doing a formal report with police. And that's where you can have the discussion with the victim services worker about what's best for you. It really does give you the option to choose to either go forward with police, with a formal police report, or choose not to proceed any further. And in my experience, many sexual assault survivors feel very validated when they hear that the police are interested in speaking to them further, and they choose to do the formal police report. But again, that's really up to you. I think the third-party report is a really great option because you're really giving police information that they would not otherwise have about what happened to you, because sadly many sexual assault survivors choose not to report to police for so many reasons that are very valid. So what does reporting to police look like for sexual assault survivors? Reporting to police is a very personal decision. For many sexual assault survivors, it's a very difficult process to go through, even with the support of people in your life and victim services, and also really supportive police officers. So again, if you're choosing to report to police, it's really important that that is your decision. What often happens, I find, after someone has been sexually assaulted is people in their life are often giving them lots of advice and information on what they should do. And that's really helpful and can be great, but it's really important for you to decide what is best for you, as I mentioned, because you'll be the one who's having to go through the police report and any further, activity in the legal system that may come about as a result of you reporting to police. So just some things to know about reporting to police. Often if the assault has happened very recently, you would often call 911 to make a report to police. And what will often happen is then you will have, depending on the location of where it happened, you will often have uniformed officers showing up to talk to you about what you went through. They will often be asking you quite detailed questions about what you went through, which may be hard to answer. And if you're sort of wondering why they're asking you a certain question, you're always welcome to ask them, I don't really understand why you're asking me that. Can you explain it to me? And then they're usually very happy to tell you why they're asking you that. It's also really important that when you are reporting to police, there's options for support. If you have a friend or a family member, someone you'd like to be there with you, it's really great to, have them there, because as I mentioned, it can be a very difficult process. And there's also, again, as I mentioned, the community-based victim services are often there to provide support and accompaniment if you're choosing to report to police. So often once you do that initial contact with police, after you've contacted 911, then sometimes what will happen is the police will arrange a more formal interview that will often happen at the police station. And that interview often involves detectives who are often wearing plain clothes, not always, but they may be in uniform. And then that interview is usually where you would sit down for a few hours and talk to the police about what you went through in quite a lot of detail. And usually if this interview, it requires, as I said, a lot of detail, and police will be asking you a lot of questions, and you will be sharing details about the sexual assault that you've probably never told anyone else about what you went through. So it's really important that you have support for yourself, whether you have someone there with you, and that you have people to talk to afterwards. And there's a number of programs there, as I mentioned, to have provide you that support. And again, reporting to police is a very personal decision, so it's really important that you decide what's best for you. And again, as I mentioned, there is no time limit in Canada for reporting your sexual assault to police, but if you are interested in having sort of any potential outcomes through the legal system, it is really important that you report to police sooner rather than later, because there may be evidence that the police can collect, and interviews of witnesses they may be able to get a hold of, as well as some videos that might be helpful for them if, for instance, the assault happened in a bar. So what services are available for sexual assault survivors? There's a number of different programs in BC that are really helpful for you to know about if you're needing to access any support after what you've been through. And the first one I just wanted to mention is one I've mentioned already, and that's the community-based victim services programs. These programs are available for communities throughout BC. They provide emotional support, safety planning. As I mentioned, they can accompany you to the police station. They could also go with you to the hospital. They can assist you in filling out forms, and they can assist you in preparing and going to court if that's what were to happen in your case. There's also another program called the Stopping the Violence Counseling Program. This is a free program that provides counseling to female survivors of sexual assault. And again, these are available in communities throughout all of BC. Another program I wanted to mention is the Stopping the Violence Outreach programs. These programs can do, some of the things that are done in terms of emotional support, as well as provide you some accompaniment services as well. If you're at a sort of a larger campus university, some of those campuses and universities have standalone sexual assault centers. For example, SFU in Burnaby in Surrey has its own sexual assault center. UBC, which is based in Vancouver, and the Okanagan has its own sexual assault center as well. And again, even if you're on some smaller campuses or universities, they always have people there to support you, whether it's through support services at student affairs. They may have security officers. They also may have counseling. And as I mentioned, they may also have healthcare clinics that you're able to access. And I know it's quite overwhelming to think of all the different options for services that you have, but one number that's really helpful to know about is VictimLink. This is a provincial information referral line that's available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and provides services in multiple languages. That number is 1-800-563-0808, and you're able to call them any time of day, and you're also able to text them. And if you're interested, you can always go on their website as well, and you're able to email them as well now. So there's lots of different options to get in touch with VictimLink and find out what services are available to you. They can also assist you with finding out what healthcare services might be appropriate as well. So it's a really great number to know about, and it's also available throughout all of BC. So if you're interested in calling VictimLink, the number is 1-800-563-0808.